What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about the racing drama Gran Turismo. And I want to take a moment to apologize for my absence here the last few weeks, but I've been working on some rewrites for a feature film I currently have in pre-production. And so I want to say my bad for the absence. I also want to take a moment to let you guys know that this video will contain some mild spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you're not trying to hear about anything that happens, you might want to exit this video right now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. Gran Turismo is a 2023 American biographical sports drama film directed by Neil Blomkamp from a screenplay by Jason Hall and Zach Baylin. The movie was produced by Columbia Pictures, PlayStation Productions, and 2.0 Entertainment. It's based on a racing simulation video game series of the same name developed by Polyphony Digital. And it tells the true story of Jan Martinborough, a teenage Gran Turismo player who became a professional race car driver. The film stars Archie Madekwe as Martinborough, alongside David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, Jimon Hansu, and Jerry Halliwell Horner. Yes, that Jerry Halliwell. The movie premiered at the Circuit de Spa Francorchamps in Belgium on July 30th of this year and was theatrically released in the United States on August 25th by Sony Pictures. And to this point, it has grossed $117 million worldwide against its $60 million budget. And it's received mixed reviews from critics who praise Blomkamp's direction and racing sequences, but criticized the film's writing. The film also generated some controversy for its use of Martinborough's 2015 crash at the Nürburgring as a narrative element. The movie currently has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 65%, and that's based on 221 reviews, but it has a much higher audience score of 98% based on over 1,000 verified audience ratings. It has a 48 on Metacritic based on 47 critic reviews, but again, has a higher user score of 7.3, even though that's only based on 180 ratings. And finally, the movie holds a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb with over 45,000 reviews. So look, the fact that this movie functions primarily as an advertisement for Gran Turismo, the video game, is pretty apparent from the outset. In fact, the movie starts with a little GT history lesson, which I have to say I didn't particularly love. Now, maybe I'm biased because Gran Turismo is one of my all-time favorite video games, so I know the history of the game. But when I sat down to watch this movie, I was actually curious to see what the film's opening image would be, and ultimately, I was a little disappointed that it essentially started with a commercial. Now, once we got to the actual film, it started in a more traditional fashion with an establishing shot of Cardiff, the capital of Wales, which is where the story officially begins. I don't know if that was written into the script, because sometimes it's not. And, sometimes the director just decides to include an establishing shot as an artistic choice. And I'm fine with that sort of thing here, especially since they do the same thing every time they change cities throughout the film. So it kind of becomes a recurring element as you watch the movie. Now, as far as the story is concerned, I thought it was just okay. The main theme of the film is clearly about overcoming adversity, kind of in the same vein as the Creed movies, if you think about it. And I think the film's theme was expressed throughout very well. But the film also takes a quick swipe at some family drama, with Jan's father trying to get him to give up on his dream of becoming a race car driver and pursue something more realistic. We also see some reason versus faith with Jack Salter starting off thinking that turning video gamers into actual professional racers via the GT Academy is a joke, but slowly beginning to believe in Jan and eventually living vicariously through him in order to get over his own failures as a professional driver. And, we also have death with Jan's accident at Nürburgring in Germany, resulting in the death of a spectator, and Jan having to get over the fact that he was, at least in part, responsible for the death of another person, and him having to decide to get back into the car and continue in the pursuit of his dream. There's also a bit of a love story here, as most movies tend to include, but it was barely present throughout the film, something I think the first Creed movies handled a whole lot better. The actual pacing of the story is where I felt a little uneasy, especially in the beginning, because it felt like the first act moved at breakneck speed, racing through the scenes with Jan and his father, introducing us to Audrey only long enough so that we would know who she was later on in the film when she showed up for a handful of largely irrelevant scenes. And it only really began to settle down once Jan got accepted into the Gran Turismo Academy. Now, I saw a lot of critics who felt like the writing in this film was bad. And when critics go after the writing, what they're really talking about is the dialogue. Now, I wasn't too bothered by the dialogue in the script, mostly because I felt like the characters talked like I expected them to. But people also criticized the script, including Jan's real-life crash at Nürburgring. But I think it's mostly because people actually got hurt and someone actually died. But I have to say, I was okay with that too, because this is based on a real-life story and the crash actually happened in real life. So I don't know how you would effectively tell the story without including something so germane to it. But I did have beef with the writers when it came to one thing, a decision that I'm sure wasn't up to them. And that was Jan's character constantly telling all the other characters who would listen that Gran Turismo wasn't a game, it was a simulator. And this is where I think the movie lost the plot, so to speak. As I said earlier in this video, the film functioned like a 2+ hour commercial for the video game. G2 logos were everywhere, and when that wasn't the case, you saw Nissan and Sony logos everywhere. And that would have been fine given the subject matter of the film. I mean, logos are everywhere on racetracks after all. But the obsession with Gran Turismo the game seemed to trump telling a good story. And telling a good story should have been fairly easy in this case because the film was based on a really interesting true story. The story of the real Jan Martinborough, who actually went from Gran Turismo gamer to professional race car driver. That's a hell of a story if you ask me, even if you're not a racing fan. But we needed to really see how Jan's relationship with his father and his lack of belief in his son pushed Jan to achieve his dream. We needed to see Jan fight for Audrey's love instead of the relationship being handed to him on a silver platter, even though by the time Audrey and Jan officially became a thing, he had already achieved some level of notoriety. We needed to see more of Jan contemplating his career path after the crash at Nürburgring and him working through his guilt to find his way back to the track. But we didn't get much of any of that. What we got instead was a series of races with stickers everywhere, won by a kid that we didn't get much of a chance to care very much about beforehand. What we got was product placement on steroids, with the director trying to bury the film's true agenda under a handful of cool special effects. What we wanted was a unique story about overcoming adversity with a side of video game nostalgia. But what we got instead was a film that undermined its own potential in the hopes of selling a few more video games. But what do you guys think? Do you think Gran Turismo delivered as a narrative feature film? Or do you think it was a tedious car crash with a $60 million budget? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. And if you like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way, you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Also, be sure to go check out themadscreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. I'll catch y'all on the next video.